Chapter 21. The Challenge. Sugriva was glad to have Ram's support. However, he knew his brother Vali was a formidable warrior, near undefeatable in battle. Although the legend of Lord Ram had spread far and wide, Sugriva had no idea how true the feats mentioned were. The Monkey King related many tales of Vali's prowess in battle to the brothers. Sensing Sugriva's unease, Lakshmana asked what Ram could do to settle his nerves. Sugriva pointed to a hole in a mighty sal tree that Vali had made with a single shot. If Ram could split any of these trees, I would be convinced of his power. Without hesitation, Ram released a single arrow which split 7 trees at once and shattered the boulder behind them. The exiled Monkey King was stunned and overjoyed. In now confident Sugriva planned their next move. The next day, Sugriva went to the gates of Kishkinda and bellowed out a challenge to Vali. Ram, still restricted by the terms of his exile to not enter the bounds of any city, stood secluded in the forest some distance away. Vali, hearing the challenge, charged through the gate to confront Sugriva. The brothers engaged in a frenzied battle, but once more Sugriva was overpowered and fled for his life. Sugriva met Ram in the forest. "Why did you not assist me? I was meant to draw him out, and you were meant to eliminate him." "Brother, I apologize," replied Ram. "When you were in battle with Vali, I could not tell you apart, and did not want to accidentally strike you instead." Hanuman came up with a plan. He collected flowers from the area and created a garland for Sugriva. "Now, when you are in battle with your brother, Sri Ram would be able to tell you apart." Sugriva returned to the gates of Kishkinda once more, and again bellowed a challenge to Vali. Again, Vali immediately prepared himself to go battle his brother, but he was stopped by his wife Tara. "Something is wrong. Why has Sugriva returned so soon? Our spies have reported that your brother may be working with the exiled Prince of Ayodhya. I do not think you should go." Vali calmed his queen. "Do not fear for me. I cannot back down from a challenge. The Prince of Ayodhya is a man of honor. I have no quarrel with him and have nothing to fear. I will end the threat of my brother once and for all." Once more, Vali engaged with his brother in battle, and once more, aided by Lord Indra's necklace, he quickly gained the upper hand. But to his shock, he felt an arrow strike his body with lethal accuracy. He looked at the distance and saw Lord Ram standing with bow in hand. Vali was shocked as he felt his life slipping away. "Why, Lord Ram? My dispute with my brother had nothing to do with you. Why have you struck me down in such a dishonorable manner?" Chapter 22. Vali's Reckoning. Vali looked upon Ram with disbelief as he felt his life slip away. "Why have you done this to me, Lord Ram? My battle with my brother had nothing to do with you." Ram stepped out of the shadows. "I am Ram of the Ikshvaku dynasty. My people have been the keeper of Dharma for generations. My brother Bharat is the king of Ayodhya, and as such, I am his emissary, responsible for maintaining justice in the lands. A younger brother is to be looked upon like a son. His wife, therefore, is to be regarded as a daughter. In forcibly taking your brother's wife, you have broken dharmic law. I have delivered your sentence, Vali." Vali looked upon Ram, and now he saw the divine truth. "I see. My arrogance and lust have blinded me to my own injustice. I have strayed far from the path of righteousness." Vali turned to Sugriva and made peace with him. Sugriva in turn promised to honor Vali's dying wish. He would make Vali's son, Angad, the crown prince. Vali handed the necklace of Indra to his son, and he passed on in peace. Sugriva, now king once more, committed himself to Ram, vowing to help to find Sita. The Monkey King revealed a small pouch of jewelry his Vanaras had found. They had seen a woman in the sky drop it into the forest. When Ram opened it, his eyes filled with tears. These belong to Sita. It is true, she was taken south, and she is still alive. Lakshmana also looked through the jewelry. While he did not recognize her necklace and earrings, he instantly recognized her anklets, the ones he had seen countless times when bowing at her feet. But now the monsoon rains had arrived, and they would have to wait 2 months before they would be able to begin the search. However, 3 months later, Sugriv, enjoying the pleasures of kingship, had not yet begun the search. Lakshmana, in a rage, entered the royal chambers and reminded Sugriv of his promise. Shamed by Lakshmana's words, Sugriv immediately summoned his 4 most trusted commanders and ordered them to form 4 search parties, each one assigned to explore a different corner of the world. The hunt for Sita had finally begun. Chapter 23. The Search for Sita. Sugriv summoned his Vanaras from far and wide, and they arrived in the thousands, ready to do the bidding of their king. The Monkey King divided the forest people into 4 search parties, each with their own senior leaders, to search in the 4 directions from Kishkinda. He described to each of the parties what they would encounter in their search, and how they should prepare accordingly. Ram was impressed with Sugriv's knowledge of the lands, as the freed Gandhava advised him he would. During Sugriv's exile from Kishkinda, he had travelled extensively and gained vast knowledge of the world. The search party that was assembled for the south had the most trusted commanders: Angad, the son of Vali, the Bear King Jambavan, and the most selfless and loyal of all, Hanuman. The parties were given 1 month, after which they would return to bring news of their outcome. Ram was most hopeful for the party led by Hanuman. He called him aside and gave him a ring inscribed with his name. "When you find Sita, show her this ring, so that she knows you were sent by me." Hanuman's devotion and determination burned deep. "I will not rest until I find her." A month passed, and the search parties from the north, west, and east returned, weary and empty-handed. However, the party led by Hanuman pressed on, crossing forests, mountains, and rivers, questioning every creature they encountered. Finally, they reached the edge of the southern sea. Before them stretched only endless waves and the distant, empty horizon. Exhausted and disheartened, the Vanaras sat silently on the shore, all except Hanuman, who continued to scan the horizon. Angad spoke first, his voice heavy with defeat. "The month has passed, and we failed. We must return to Kishkinda." But then, just as all hope seemed lost, an aged vulture descended from the sky. It was Sampati, brother of the great Jatayu. Sampati had overheard the search party's talk of Jatayu's sacrifice. Upon learning of his brother's fate, Sampati shed tears of both sorrow and pride. He shared what he had seen with his far-reaching eyes. "From this very shore," Sampati said, "I watched as Ravana, the demon king, flew across the skies, carrying a sorrowful, weeping princess. He took her across the sea to the golden city of Lanka." The members of the search party looked to the horizon. According to Sampati, Lanka was over 800 miles away. How could they possibly reach the princess? Chapter 24. Hanuman's Quest. The Vanaras looked at the horizon in disbelief. The distance to Lanka was 100 yojanas, in modern terms equivalent to approximately 800 miles or 1,200 kilometers. Then, one Vanara spoke out. "I could perhaps swim 50 yojanas. Another responded, "I could swim 100 yojanas, but I would not be able to swim back." Throughout the discussions, Hanuman sat silently on the shore. The Bear King Jambavan approached the mighty warrior. "Why do you not speak, Hanuman?" Hanuman looked up at the elderly Bear King. I am but a simple monkey. What can I do? This is an impossible task." "But you are no ordinary monkey, Hanuman," replied Jambavan. "You are the son of the wind god Vayu. As a child, you mistook the rising sun for a ripe fruit and leapt up into the air to grab it. To protect the sun, the king of the gods had to strike you down with a thunderbolt, hitting your jaw, Hanu, leading to your name, Hanuman. In a rage, Vayu withdrew the air from the earth and heavens. To appease your father, the gods granted you various gifts. Indra made your body stronger than his thunderbolt. Brahma gave you invincibility against weapons and the power to change form. Agni made you immune to fire, Varuna to the depths of water. Vayu blessed you with unmatched speed, Surya the knowledge of all wisdoms and scriptures, while Yama gave you freedom from death and disease. Kuber gave you contentment beyond worldly desires, and Kama blessed you with eternal self-mastery. Hearing this, the spell of forgetfulness that the sages placed upon him as a mischievous youth dissolved, and Hanuman remembered that he could fly. Hanuman rose to his feet, and to the wonder of the Vanaras, he began to grow in size. With a giant leap, he flew up into the air and departed for Lanka. 3 challenges awaited the great soul on his journey. The first, a golden mountain named Manaka, rose from the sea. "Stay here with me, dear Hanuman. Give up your journey. I will provide you with all the rest and comforts you desire." Hanuman touched the mountain with his chest, and then took off to continue his journey. "I thank you for your offer, Manaka, but my duty to Lord Ram rises above all other desires." Next, Hanuman encountered the serpent Surasa. "My boon from Brahma dictates that only those that enter my mouth may pass, little monkey." The serpent opened its ravenous mouth. Hanuman increased his size to avoid being swallowed up. However, as he increased his size, the serpent Surasa also increased the size of her mouth. Hanuman changed tact, and instead decreased his size. He quickly entered her mouth and exited her ear. "I have fulfilled your requirement, Surasa. I will now be on my way." Hanuman's third encounter was with the demoness Samika. She grabbed onto his shadow and pulled him down. Unlike Manaka and Surasa, Samika was truly malevolent. Hanuman turned, and with a vicious blow ended the existence of the demoness. Finally, Hanuman arrived on the shores of Lanka, but yet another journey remained ahead of him, getting to the gates of the Golden City and finding Sita in a realm ruled by demons. Chapter 25. Hanuman in Lanka. Hanuman made his way through the dense forest, passing rivers and streams, and eventually found himself at the gates of the Golden City. Along the way, he was attacked by a spirit that identified itself as the guardian of Lanka. The entity was no match for the son of Vayu. He defeated her and released her from her role. Hanuman waited till nightfall, reduced his size, and silently slipped over the guarded walls. Lanka was a wonder to behold, a majestic city built upon a mountain. The Vanara was astounded by what he saw. The city gleamed with walls and gates made of pure gold, studded with precious gems and adorned with intricate carvings. Palaces with crystal windows and silver staircases towered high, glittering under the moonlight. The inhabitants of Lanka varied greatly in appearance and manner. Some Rakshasas were repulsive in both form and action. However, some were both noble and pious. Some wore fine clothes, while others seemed poverty-stricken. The night sounds of music, laughter, and revelry echoed throughout the city, but the streets, patrolled by a sinister demon guard, was a reminder of the malevolence that lurked beneath. At the heart of Lanka was Ravana's palace, opulent and decadent. Hanuman entered the royal residence. He thought this would be the most likely place that Ravana would keep the princess. Room after room he searched, slipping past guards and shadows. One hall revealed dancers slumped on the floor, goblets of wine spilled beside them. Another chamber overflowed with treasures, gold and gemstones piled like grain. Hanuman paused as he passed through a quiet courtyard. A faint glow came from the smaller residence set apart from the palace. Peering through a window, he saw a Rakshasa dressed in Brahmin robes, meditating before a shrine which included symbols of Lord Ram. His form, though fierce, was calm and dignified. Unknown to Hanuman at this time, this was Vibhishan, the brother of Ravana, who, like his sage father had predicted, was sattvic in nature. Hanuman observed with great interest and then moved on. As he moved deeper into Ravana's palace, he entered a grand inner chamber. The air inside was thick with perfumes and the silence of intoxicated sleep. At the center of the chamber, reclining upon an elevated golden bed, adorned with silken sheets and fragrant garlands, lay Ravana. His battle-scarred arms rested at his sides. Around him, dozens of royal women and celestial dancers lay asleep, some draped in fine cloth, others entwined in each other's arms, goblets and garlands scattered across the floor. Based on Lord Ram's description of Mother Sita, this is not where the princess of Mithila would be, Hanuman thought to himself. Hanuman left the palace, and outside he passed a more secluded area of the royal grounds, a grove fenced off by high walls, its gates sealed and heavily guarded. He scaled the wall in his smallest form and dropped silently into the sanctuary. It was a grove of ashoka trees, with fierce Tibetan guards patrolling the area. Beneath the largest tree, seated on the bare ground, was a woman in a faded silk sari, her long hair unkempt, her eyes full of sorrow, but unwavering. She was emaciated, but her face still shone with grace. From the shadows of the tree, he whispered softly, "Mother Sita, I have found you." Chapter 26. Sita's Defiance. Hanuman observed the graceful and sorrowful woman seated beneath the great Asoka tree. The sun rose, and with it arrived Ravana, the demon king, followed by a dozen of his consorts, many of them stumbling along, still intoxicated from the excesses of the night before. "My beauty, how has your night been? Have my Rakshasis kept you good company? Are you finally ready to end your suffering and embrace the splendor of my bedchamber?" The woman remained silent. "Your beauty eclipses even the rising sun. My heart desires you more than any woman. My offer stands, princess. Be my queen, and all the riches and luxuries of Lanka shall be yours." The woman placed a blade of grass between her and the demon king, and looked down at the blade. "Repent, demon king. Return me to my husband and beg his forgiveness. Your lust for me invites your doom, like a moth rushing towards a fire." Ravana's eyes flared with rage. "Foolish woman, you have 2 months remaining to accept my offer. Continue to deny me then, and my Rakshasas shall cook you for my breakfast." Ravana stormed off, with his consorts scurrying behind him. The noble woman broke down in tears, and she looked up at the tree branches, contemplating ending her life using the braid of her hair. But then, from the shadows of the Asoka tree, a gentle voice spoke. "Princess, my name is Hanuman of the Vanaras. Are you the daughter of Mithila?" Sita was startled, and at first suspected a Rakshasa trick. But the radiance of the soulful Vanara melted her heart, and from his hands he produced a small, glinting object, a ring inscribed with Ram's name. Sita's eyes widened. "I am the daughter-in-law of Dasharath, foremost among the kings of the world. I am the daughter of King Janaka of Mithila. I am the wife of Ram, the prince of Ayodhya, and I am Sita, the queen eminent of Ayodhya." Hanuman, with tears of joy, knelt before the princess. Prince Ram grieves for you at every moment. Climb on my back, princess. I will carry you across the ocean and back to Ram." But Sita gently shook her head. "I am too weak to cross the ocean, dearest Hanuman, and you will not be able to defend yourself against Ravana's army while carrying me. But beyond this, our time of exile nears its end. In abducting me, Ravana has insulted the honor of Ayodhya and brought shame upon his own kingdom. Ram, as the king imminent of Ayodhya, must himself cross the ocean to restore the honor of Ayodhya and bring an end to the tyranny of the demon king." Chapter 27. Hanuman's Fury. Hanuman had offered to carry Sita on his back away from her prison. Sita declined and outlined her reasons to the noble Vanara. Hanuman would need to take a message back. Ram must himself cross the ocean, conquer this kingdom of evil, and reclaim her with honor. Only then will Ravana's tyranny be shattered and the glory of Dharma upheld. The prince would only have 2 months to achieve this feat, as Ravana had delivered his ultimatum to Sita: submit to his desires, or face her end at the hands of the demon king's vicious Rakshasas. Sita handed Hanuman an ornament from her hands, and shared a memory which only Ram and her would know of, so that the Vanara would have proof of their meeting. Hanuman's heart was heavy as he left the Ashoka Grove. As the thoughts of Sita's torture at the hands of Ravana and his Rakshasas passed through his mind, he felt a growing rage within him. The mighty Vanara let out a roar that thundered across the city of Lanka. Rakshasi guards rushed towards the sound, weapons drawn. But Hanuman had already grown to his enormous battle form. He tore trees from the palace gardens and used their trunks as weapons, hurling and swinging them with devastating fury. The guards fell, one by one, powerless before his rage. Hearing the commotion, Ravana's generals dispatched a company of elite soldiers. Hanuman leapt atop a marble spire and struck them down as they approached. His movements as swift as the wind, his blows ferocious. Arrows rained upon him, but none could strike true. Demons who dared challenge him were crushed or scattered in terror. Ravana dispatched his most seasoned warriors. One by one they fell. The onslaught of Hanuman could not be checked. He was a storm incarnate, a divine fury unleashed upon the city. Desperate and grief-stricken at the ruin of his forces, Ravana turned to his greatest champion, his son Meghanath, known as Indrajit, the warrior who once defeated even Lord Indra. Indrajit performed a sacred ritual before leaving to face Hanuman. The two warriors engaged in ferocious battle, with neither gaining the upper hand. Finally, Indrajit invoked the mighty Brahmastra and unleashed it upon Hanuman. The Brahmastra formed a shackle which captured the mighty soul. As part of his gifts, Hanuman had invulnerability to Lord Brahma's weapons. But his capture provided an opportunity. The gods would bring him before the demon king, and Hanuman would come face to face with the tormentor of Sita. Chapter 28. The Trial of Hanuman. Indrajit brought the shackled Vanara before his father in triumph. Hanuman had decimated the demon king's most senior guards, generals and assassins, including Ravana's own son, Akshaya Kumar. Ravana, seated upon his towering golden throne, glared down at Hanuman with contempt and rage. "Who are you, forest creature? And what is your purpose in trespassing within my kingdom?" The noble soul responded, "I am Hanuman of the Vanaras. I am the emissary of Lord Ram. Ram has formed an alliance with my king Sugriv. The prince of Ayodhya was living out his exile in peace in the forest with his wife Sita and brother Lakshmana. One day, they returned home to find Princess Sita gone. Ram has assisted Sugriv to reclaim his throne, and in return, Sugriv summoned millions of Vanaras to search the earth for Sita. I am one of those in the search party, and I have found the princess here, held captive in your kingdom. Your guards and generals attacked me, and I slew them in self-defense. Now, Demon King, the choice is yours. Release the Princess Sita or face the wrath of Lord Ram, who will have an army of ferocious Vanaras such as myself by his side. Ravana was furious. Execute the insolent forest dweller, screamed the king. But a calm and benevolent voice spoke out. Brother, this Vanara is an emissary, an envoy, and it is against the ethos of kings to execute a messenger. Vibhishan, the Sattvic brother of Ravana, continued. However, the Vanara's actions in the kingdom cannot go unpunished. Ravana was stopped by his brother from carrying out the sentence he truly desired. He thought for a moment. He knew the Vanaras revered their tails with a sense of noble pride. Very well, the forest dweller may keep his life, but set the torch to his tail. Hanuman watched with a silent rage as the guards wrapped his tail with cloth, soaked it with oil, and set fire to it. He looked at the Demon King on his throne. Ravana was gleeful in his sadism. What a pity, Hanuman thought to himself. Ravana might have been a great and noble king if he had not strayed from righteousness and let the darkness consume him. Now, this flame he has given me will be the pyre of Lanka. Chapter 29. The Burning of Lanka. Ravana's guards paraded the bound Vanara through the streets of Lanka. Hanuman's tail, a symbol of honor among the forest dwellers, was set alight at the command of the Demon King. Ravana's intention was to mock and humiliate the envoy of Ram, to make him an example to all those who would oppose his might. But instead of instilling despair, the fire ignited something far more dangerous, Hanuman's rage. The Vanara allowed the demon guards to drag him through the city. He had seen Lanka cloaked in moonlight. Now he studied its secrets in daylight. The people of Lanka reacted in many ways. Some stared in silence, some laughed and threw insults. A few looked on with sympathy. While the guards jeered and prodded him with spears, Hanuman observed the streets, the positions of the garrisons, the structure of the palace, the barracks of Ravana's generals, the storehouses of weapons. He noted them all. Unknown to the Demon King, Hanuman was no ordinary Vanara. Like Ravana, Hanuman had the blessings of Lord Brahma. But in addition to this, he also had the blessings of a host of other gods. One of these gods was Agni, the Lord of Fire. Hanuman was blessed with immunity to flame, and as such, the blazing tail caused him no harm. Lord Brahma granted him invulnerability to his celestial weapons, which included the Brahmastra that now bound him. When Hanuman had seen enough, he let out a roar. In a single motion, he shattered the Brahmastra bindings. With the strength of the wind, he leapt high into the air, landing atop a towering building. With each leap from rooftop to rooftop, Hanuman's burning tail brushed against the structures. Flames leapt from wall to wall, catching quickly. He struck the armories, the homes of Ravana's advisors, and the palaces of his corrupt ministers. He targeted key installations, spreading fire like a divine reckoning. A gust of wind accelerated the flame, as if the gods themselves carried his fury forward. By evening, Lanka was a city ablaze. Gold ornaments melted and flowed down the marble steps like rivers of molten sunlight. Screams filled the air as both soldiers and citizens fled in terror. The sky turned crimson with smoke, and the gleaming capital of the Demon King was consumed in flame. Once Hanuman's rage had subsided, a chilling thought crossed his mind. Had his actions endangered Princess Sita? The Vanara raced to the Ashoka grove. There, beneath the protective branches of a flowering tree, he observed Sita, sitting in calm meditation, unharmed, untouched by the chaos. With relief, and with Lanka now dealt a devastating blow, Hanuman headed back towards the ocean. he put out the fire on his tail and leapt into the air to carry his message to Lord Ram. Chapter 30. The Divide. Ravana was shaken by Hanuman's assault on Lanka. He convened a meeting with his advisory council. The council consisted of his generals, ministers, and loyal commanders. This attack on Lanka was a consequence of my actions. I have the wife of the exiled Prince of Ayodhya held captive within my palace. The Vanara came to Lanka in search of her. A murmur swept through the chamber. One of the generals stepped forward. What is the purpose of her imprisonment? Is this retribution for Kar, who fell at Ram's hand? My reasons are much more personal, responded Ravana. When I saw Sita, I was overcome by desire. She is the most beautiful woman I have ever beheld. I brought her back to Lanka to make her my chief queen. But she has refused to enter my bed. I have given her an ultimatum of 2 months to succumb to my will. If not, my Rakshasas will serve her to me as my dinner. What need is there for her consent? If you desire this woman, you may ravage her as you wish. This is your right as king, responded Ravana's general. Many of the other generals and advisors heartily supported this view. But a lone voice of nobility spoke out. Brother, the abduction of this woman to sate your desires is adharmic, against righteousness. I implore you to return the princess to her husband. Make peace with the Prince of Ayodhya before further disaster descends upon our kingdom. Vibhishan, the Sattvic brother of Ravana, stood out like a gleaming source of light within Ravana's depraved council. It is not too late, brother. Repent for your actions. Seek forgiveness from Lord Ram. Bring peace to our kingdom. The gathered members of the council burst out in laughter. Some berated Vibhishan for his cowardice, including his own nephew, Indrajit. Ravana too, soaked in his own arrogance, would not heed the words of his noble brother. This was not the first time Vibhishan had tried to convince his brother to follow the path of Dharma. But now, with the disdain of Ravana's most senior council aimed at him, he saw that all hope was lost within Lanka. And the son of sage Vishrava made his most difficult decision.
Thank you for watching so far. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're new here, please subscribe. This will ensure that more people can find this resource. Click the notification button so that you can be the first to know about new uploads. And please do comment below. I'll do my best to reply to any questions. Thank you.